Believe it or not, so everybody has their own way. Like some of the folks in our cast refuse to read reviews and all that. I am like an internet junkie, so I am reading the Reddit forums. Okay, I see what y'all are saying about me on Reddit.
Krys Marshall, thank you so much for being here.
Hi! Thank you for having me.
So we're in the midst of season 4 of For All Mankind, which is streaming now on Apple TV Plus, and I'm so excited to get into it. But I kind of want to go back to 2019 to the start of the series. Do you remember what first attracted you to the original script and story?
So funnily enough, I actually was not. Um, I was totally unaware of the show in its entirety. I had gone into our casting director's office for a completely different show. And that show was about lesbians in their 20s. And it was very current and very edgy. And as I walked out of that audition, they had the assistant run back out and grab me and said, hey, do you have a quick second to read this thing about NASA? So I was like, what? Okay. So I took about 10 minutes to just quickly like skim the material. And I came in and, half the words in the script, I didn't even know what they were. But I thought, let me just give it a whirl. And so I did. And I found out that night that I got the job. So 2 days later, I was on set and starting to play Danielle Poole. And it was all very much a trial by fire kind of situation.
Well, how much did you kind of know about NASA and space before the series? Was it something you were interested in, or were you like me, whose head spins when I
I mean, I
think
think I
about
was
how?
like you, Mike, where I knew like next to
Yeah,
nothing. I mean, I knew like that we were the first to land on the moon. But what I didn't know is that we had not been back to the moon since the 1970s. I didn't realize that we had sort of, once we beat the Russians in the Cold War, that was the end of the space race. So I knew that there were like continuing moments of glory where there was a black woman who went into space, Mae Jemison, and there were some other paramount moments. But for the most part, the space program kind of receded back. And I think a lot of that was because of the Challenger explosion in the 1980s. And it seems like the public face of the program sort of died off. So I didn't know a ton about NASA, not like I do now.
well, so we saw Danielle in season 1 starting out as a NASA engineer. How have you seen your character grow and evolve from season 1 to now season 4, where she's got a very big role?
Yeah. Um, it has been a wild ride. Ron has said to me many times that they did not see Danielle becoming the character that she was, that she is today. And neither did I. Again, when I first received the material, she was a smaller character. Throughout season 1, she is sort of a supporting character, ancillary to a big part of the story. Of course, in the Hi Bob episode, Hi Bob, she plays a much larger role, but as it goes on, we begin to see that she takes a leadership position. So I feel like me, Krys, and Danielle continue to grow in this role as time went on till now, as you mentioned. Yeah, she's the commander of the Happy Valley base.
Now, over these 4 seasons, was there a point where Danielle went from being just a character written on a script for you to you then feeling a sense of ownership of the character?
That's a really good question, Mike. It's a question I haven't had yet. I think, as an actor, so often you are given material, and it's easy for me at least to wonder, what do they want from me? What are they looking for? If it's a casting situation, it's what do producers want? And even once you have the job, it's, am I pleasing the director? I would say that I definitely became comfortable with Danielle um, towards the midway point of season 1. But when I really felt like, oh, she belongs to me, she is mine. And in fact, in many ways, I'm the authority of what feels like her. I would say it probably took me until about towards the end of season 2, especially when, that moment where Danielle decides, I'm not going to come back to Earth. I'm going to initiate this handshake and, unbeknownst to her, save the world from nuclear fallout. But I think, again, it's like so symbiotic, your relationship with a character when you live with one for as long as I have. I mean, as you mentioned, we started the show, we started filming the summer of 2018, and now here we are in the winter of 2023. So I've lived with her for many years now. But I would say it was around that time that I found myself on set speaking up in a way that I hadn't ever before, feeling like I was an authority. And now, many moons later, I feel like it's kind of even. Stephen, don't tell our writers that. But a lot of what she does and says, and even the way in which she speaks, because she's from Memphis, I'm from Atlanta, I really like to weigh in and say, this feels right, this feels true to who she is. And oftentimes, I get my way, and sometimes I don't.
Do you sometimes feel a sense of ownership because you can relate to Danielle? Like, do you
Yeah.
have similarities?
Yeah, I mean, our differences are probably more than our similarities, considering that I don't know anything about science or math. That's not true. I know a little. But yes, our differences are wide and varied. But where we come together is the intersection between career and family. Danielle has made it really abundantly clear throughout the seasons, I think maybe more so than any of the other female astronauts, that her family is so paramount to her. She returns home early from her time in Jamestown because she is looking after Clayton, who is, coming apart. She sees her colleagues like family in the way that she breaks her arm for Gordo in season one. But her love of family continues to sort of play a through line, in many ways, an obstacle for who she is as an astronaut. And I, Krys, am very close with my family. They were just here for Thanksgiving. My whole entire family, the house is very full. And it means a lot to me. And so I think many women struggle with this dichotomy of where your career and your family converge.
Going into season four, there were, I guess, high expectations for fans because each season seemed to be topping itself. Do you, as an individual and as a cast and crew, uh, do you look at those expectations and does that put pressure on you? And does that at all change, I guess, the process of creating the show?
Believe it or not, so everybody has their own way. Like, some of the folks in our cast refuse to read reviews and all that. I am like an internet junkie, so I am reading the Reddit forums. Okay, I see what y'all are saying about me on Reddit. And it does not inform the role, luckily, because it's after the fact. So, we're recording this, or not recording, but we're shooting the show and putting the episodes in the can, sometimes 18 months prior to when the audience gets a chance to see it. So everything I've done and said and the choices that I've made, they've all come and gone by the time the audience has a chance to remark on them. But with that said, I feel very connected to our audience. I love that people bicker back and forth in the comment section that this sucked and I hated this. Like, I love that as much as I love when they say they love something, because it means that they're engaged. It means that they're involved, that it affects their lives. It makes me happy to see that we have fans who have watch parties for the premiere and watch parties for the finale. When we had Comic-Con last year, we went to Comic-Con and there was someone, a pair actually, who came completely dressed in duct tape, which was hilarious. I mean, it was just so great. So, yeah, I don't think that it affects my performance, but I'm definitely involved in, at least from a peaking version, I'm involved in how our fans see the show, and I love how much our fans love the show.
Now, without spoiling anything for those who haven't gotten to season four yet, but
Mm.
what are you most excited for fans to see from Danielle?
um, it's so hard. It's so hard to talk about the show and not spoil it. We have seen Danielle exercise reservation and restraint so much throughout the last three seasons. She's constantly biting her tongue so much that her mouth has to be filled with blood. So this season, I feel like she takes the gloves off, and it is such a sweet reward. When I got a chance to read some of these episodes, especially episode five, going all the way through to the finale, I was just shocked at how Danielle really starts to let her rip. I think she is evidence of what happens when you really push a person to the brink. And so, if you've always wondered, like, when is Danielle going to have enough? This is the season when she's had enough.
Ooh, that's a nice little tease there. Well, the only way to find out is to watch For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus, and fans are really in for a treat during season 4. Krys, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Michael. It was good to talk to you.